Hi yogi friends, so glad you're here to practice with me today. We are in the middle of a deep freeze as I am recording this, so I thought what better time to get on the mat and really work the core, get some heat going in that inner body to provide a little extra warmth. So let's jump right in here. I'm calling this one core on the floor because we're going to be working that midsection of the body, but pretty much the whole time we're going to be on the floor. This is inspired by a private client of mine who has requested that we do some work on core strength and increasing balance. So this is a way to get some strength and stability in that midsection while also being supported by multiple points of the body on the floor, adding to that feeling of stability. So come into your easy seat here. I would suggest that you grab a block, because we're going to need those later in the practice. If you have a bolster, that would be handy to have too. If you don't have a bolster, a couple of firm pillows or maybe one longish firm pillow can really be helpful and be a nice substitute. So come into your easy seat here, close the eyes, and just relax into the space. Drawing attention to those points in the body that are resting on the surface beneath you. Drawing attention to the temperature in the room, any sensations in the body. The breath coming in the nostrils on the inhale, cooler. And exhaling of that same air, much warmer than when it came into the body. While we're focusing on the breath here, let's take notice of the depth and pacing of our breath, allowing it to slow and deepen as we settle into our practice here. Take a big full belly breath, inhale, allowing the abdomen to expand like a balloon, really filling up the lungs, full as we can with oxygen. And then pressing that exhale out, drawing the belly button to the spine. Let's inhale once more. And exhale fully and completely. After the next inhale on the exhale, we'll chant Om together. Just opening up our practice here. That chant just reminds us we are all connected through the life force that pulses within each and every being. Let's gently open the eyes now. And we'll start here with some hip circles. We're going to bend the torso forward toward one knee. Come across between the knees to the other side with the torso. And then we're going to lean back using the abdominal muscles as we lean back to keep us upright. And we'll just continue these hip circles. So circling from the hips, but using the midsection muscles to create that movement. And you can do this at whatever pace is most comfortable for you. Some folks find they can go quickly. Others like to take it a little slower. So you decide what feels best for you today. And just feel how this circle feels on each of the hips. You may find that one side of the body may feel a little more tension than the other. This can help to work out some of that tension in the hips, especially if you spend a lot of time sitting during your day. And once we are back at that starting knee where we first began, let's reverse our circles. Coming back and then leaning forward. Think of pressing those sits bones down into the mat as much as you can as you come forward, and really leaning back and using the abs here. Try not to create tension in the shoulders and neck. If that means you don't lean back quite as far, that's fine. We really want to be turning on the core muscles and not creating tension in the neck, the chest, the shoulders. And if that means that we need to step back just a bit from our leaning on back, then do that. And keep this rotation going. Notice how this may feel different as we've changed the rotation from one direction to the next. And again, just notice any places in the body where you're really feeling the sensations of this movement. We're going to do a lot of paying attention to the body today, really listening. These rotations too that are moving the midsection are really great for the abdominal organs and for your digestion. So that's an added bonus. And after this last circle, let's come back up to the center. And let's lift the shoulders up toward the ears, pull them back slightly and lower them back down. So we're just going to do some circling of the shoulders here, just loosening up. If we did create any tension there, this can help to loosen it up. We also spend a lot of time in modern life often looking at screens, reading books, maybe even digging in the garden or whatever else we do, cooking. When we're facing forward, we're bringing those muscles forward. So right now we're just opening up the shoulders and the chest by pulling them back, doing the opposite of that forward pulling movement. And now let's do balance things out and reverse the shoulder circles here. Just getting ourselves warmed up before we move into a little more large muscle movement. Alrighty, from here, I'm going to remove the socks so that I get a little more traction with my feet because we'll need that. Let's come to a tabletop position. If you have that blanket to support the tailbone, you can move it over to the side. And once you're in your tabletop, take a look at your foundation. Fingers spread nice and wide. We're going to really grip into the fingertips here and the pad of the thumb so that the hands are kind of like little spiders on the mat. Lengthen through the crown of the head and the tailbone. Knees should be right under the hips and feet should be right behind the knees. Draw the navel up toward the spine slightly to support that low back. Now we've got a good foundation from which to drop the belly. Raise the crown of the head and the tailbone and open up through that front body, and maybe just hold this cow position for a moment, feeling the opening in the front body. And then we're going to arch the back toward the sky and draw the navel up to the spine as the crown and the tailbone point toward the floor, pressing into the base of the palms, the tops of the feet, and the knees, holding there a moment. And on an inhale, drop the belly down into your cow position. And on an exhale, draw the navel to the spine, arch the back. Inhale, drop the belly. Maybe smile a little here, just reminding yourself to relax the face. Draw navel to spine on the exhale. Inhale, drop the belly. And exhale, navel to spine, arch the back toward the sky. Let's come back to a neutral position here. We're going to extend the right arm and hand directly out in front of the right shoulder. And then we'll extend the left leg directly out behind the left hip. You can already turn on or feel the abs turn on here, trying to hold you in this balancing position. Drawing the navel up toward the spine again helps to support the low back. This may be challenge enough, and you may want to just hold here and then lower things back down when it gets to be intense enough that you need a break. Another option here is to draw the elbow of the right arm into the middle and then also draw the left knee into the middle. So you might even be able to touch the elbow and the knee, and then you extend the arm and the leg back out straight. Let's do that one more time. And then extend the arms back out. And then we'll touch knee to elbow if we can, or bring them close together and extend back out. And then we're going to lower everything back down to our tabletop and take a little break here. Let's Widen the knees as wide as the mat. Bring the big toes to touch one another. And bring the hips back to rest on the heels, dropping the forehead toward the mat and resting in an extended child's pose. Just breathing here and resting for a moment. You can rest the forehead on the mat. You could even rock the head just gently from side to side on the forehead. That might feel nice. And on the next inhale, let's come back up to our tabletop. And we're going to need to do that on the other side to keep things nice and even. So extend the right leg directly behind the right hip, left arm directly out in front of the left shoulder. Navel towards spine. Let's bring the knee and the elbow to touch if we can, or at least bring them to the midsection beneath the torso, and then extend back out. Bring elbow toward knee, extend back out, and then bring elbow toward knee and extend back out. Come to rest again. Wide knees, hips toward the heels. Allow the forehead to rest on the mat and breathe. On the next inhale, we're going to rise back up to our tabletop. And we're going to do a little bit more with this from this tabletop position. This time, extend right arm out again. Extend left leg out, just like we did before. We're going to bend the right arm at a 90-degree angle, just out to the side. So it's as if we're floating the arm up above the floor. And the elbows directly out to the side from the shoulder. And then we're going to bend the knee of the left leg and bring it out to the side of the hip, almost as if you could imagine a dog at a fire hydrant or at the curb. And we can hold there for a moment, and then we can extend the leg and the arm back out in front. And again, engage that navel up toward the spine. Let's bring the knee and elbow back out to the side. Extend arm and leg forward and back. And then one more time, knee and elbow out to the side. And then extend arm and leg back behind. Gently lower everything down. Let's come into that extended child's pose again. These little rests in between allow us to have the energy to keep doing this work. And they can also help to prevent injury, just giving the muscles a moment to relax and refresh and get ready for the next move. You can probably feel your heart rate increasing a little bit with the effort. And maybe even your breathing pattern is becoming a little more intense. On the next inhale, let's rise back up to that tabletop. And you guessed it, we're going to do this on the other side. Extending left arm out in front of the shoulder, extending right leg out behind the hip. Bend that left elbow 90 degrees so that the hand hovers above the floor and the elbow is directly out from the shoulder, bending the right knee and bringing it over toward the side of the hip. Engage that navel to help with low back support, then straighten everything back out, arm out front, leg out behind, bending the knee and the elbow once again, and extending out front, and then bending elbow once again, and knee, and extending out front. And if you can't hear my breath, it's a little labored. This is hard work. We're all putting in some effort here today. Let's do that extended child's pose once more, giving ourselves a little time to rest and reset before we move forward. All right, let's come back up to tabletop. And get in our position here again. And again, we just want to have a nice, good foundation, hands with fingers spread wide, a nice gripping action here, okay? And then from here, we're going to move the palms forward, probably about one palm's length. Works well for me. And we're going to come up into a down dog. So curl the toes under behind, come up into your down dog, lifting those hips up toward the sky, gripping again into the fingertips. So the hands are like little spiders there, lengthening the crown of the head toward the front edge of the mat. Think of lengthening the crown, or I'm sorry, the tail toward that crease between the wall and the ceiling behind you. And you can pedal the feet a little bit here just to increase that stretch in the calf and the Achilles. Do what feels good for you. Maybe coming up on the toes. Just kind of play here a little bit and feel what movement feels good for your feet and legs before we come to stillness for just a moment. All right, we'll come into our still down dog here, allowing some space between the shoulders and the ears again. And let's lift the right leg so that it is directly extended from the right hip. So we have a line from the heel of the right leg to the hip, to the shoulder, and to the base of the palm, a diagonal line. From here, we're going to bend that right knee, bring it as close as you can to the chest, and then bring the weight forward onto the hands. So the back is kind of in a domed shape right now between the shoulder blades. And then we'll extend that leg back up the way we started. And again, we'll bring the knee in toward the chest, coming up onto those back toes, bringing the weight forward onto the hands. And then we'll extend that leg back up again. And one more time, bringing the knee toward the chest, bringing the weight forward onto the hands. And then we will lengthen that leg back out behind and lower that leg back down. Give another little pedal of the feet here before we start with the other side. Now let's lift the left leg up, diagonal line from the left heel to the left hip, left shoulder, and the base of the left palm. Remember, again, gripping in the fingertips and space between the ears and shoulders. Let's draw that left knee in toward the chest as close as we can get it, coming up onto the toes and back and bringing the weight toward the hands. And then we'll lengthen the leg out behind again. And we'll come forward, knee to chest, weight on the palms, coming up onto the back toes. And once more, extend the leg out behind. Draw the knee in toward the chest, bringing the weight forward and coming onto the back toes. And then we'll lengthen that leg back up again and lower it down into our down dog. Awesome work. Pedal the feet here, just to give a little relaxation to the legs. Let's come down onto the knees for just a moment. And we're going to just walk the hands back toward the knees and come up, just kind of giving ourselves a little break here. Coming onto the bum onto the heels, and we're coming up onto the toes. So we're really stretching the soles of the feet. This can be pretty intense. If you need to come all the way up onto the knees, just to give a little relief before you come back down, you can do that to give a little rest there. All right, from here, we're going to transition to a Dandasana. So sitting on your bottom with the legs extended right out in front of you so that you're facing the short edge of your mat. From here, we're going to just roll down slowly though. So first of all, let's take a look at this Dandasana. Toes should be pointed toward the ceiling. The spine is nice and tall from the crown to the base of the spine. Let's bring the hands right out in front of the shoulders and grasp the hands together in a steeple grip. So pointer fingers are pointed forward, thumbs are touching one another, and all the other fingers are clasped. Turn on the abdominal muscles here because we're going to use them to roll ourselves down super slowly. That's where the work comes in here. We're really going to take it super slow. And you may find that at some point the feet come up off the mat, and if they do, that's okay. We're building strength here. So keep that in mind. You're doing a lot of good work to strengthen up that core. So let's bring the soles of the feet so that they are resting on the mat and the knees are pointed up toward the sky. And from here, we're going to hug the knees into the chest first of all. Give them a little hug. And then we're going to lengthen the left leg back out straight so that it rests on the mat. And keep that right knee close to the chest. From here, we're going to use, first of all, think of the muscles. We're going to use the abdominal muscles and the chest muscles, not the neck and the shoulders, because we don't want to create tension. And if this means you only lift up a tiny bit because you're building strength in that core, that is totally fine. If you can come and bring the nose up toward the knee without causing a lot of tension in the neck, then do so. If you want to challenge yourself even more, you could let go of the knee and bring the arms forward so that they're pointing toward the fingers are pointing toward the toes. And then we'll lower the head slowly back down and bring the left leg to rest on the mat and bring the, maybe said that wrong, bring the right leg to rest on the mat, bring the left knee toward the chest, give it a little hug. And we're going to do the same nose to knee position again. Again, engage the abdominals and the chest to raise. Think of raising the nose first toward the ceiling and then bringing it toward the knee. That can help to engage the right muscles that we want to be working here. And again, if it means that you just raise the nose slightly off or raise the head slightly off the mat to point the nose toward the ceiling and then come back down, then do that. Listen to what your body needs today from you. If you'd like to go ahead and try to bring the nose up toward the ceiling and then toward the knee, you can do so. If you start to feel a shake here, that means you're doing some good work. If you'd like to challenge yourself, you can lengthen the fingertips out toward the toes on the right foot. And then we'll bring the hands back to the knee and lower slowly down. Oh, let's take a big full body stretch here. Arms up above the shoulders, pressing out through the base of the palms and pressing out through the heels. And then bring the arms back down to either side. And we're going to bring the knees back toward the chest again. Put the kneecaps, or I'm sorry, the palms of the hands on the kneecaps. And we're just going to circle the knees around. And actually I bring as my knees go forward away from the body, I don't have the palms on the knees anymore. I might just have the fingertips there above the kneecaps. You're just using all of those muscles in the midsection to hold the legs up as we circle the knees around. You can even put the arms out to either side of the body to do this. That might give you a little more stability, especially if you're building strength here. You can do that. And let's take these circles to the other direction now. So just reverse your circles. And you'll notice you can feel those lower abdominals doing the work of holding the legs up enough so that the feet don't touch the ground. Just making circles, big circles with those knees. All right, let's bring the feet to rest on the floor. And then we're going to leave the arms extended out to the side. If you don't already have them there, go ahead and extend them out to the side. And then draw the knees up not right above the hips, a little bit closer to the chest. We don't want them hugged into the chest, but we don't want the knees right over the hips. We want a little bit more, maybe a 45-degree angle from the knee to the hip, to the back that's lying on the floor. And from here, with arms out, extended out from the shoulders, we're going to lower the knees together, keeping the legs close together, and lower them down toward the floor on one side. And then we're going to draw them back up to center. And we're going to go over to the other side. Again, we're using all of those abdominal muscles. Really draw the navel in to make sure that you are using the abdominal muscles to hold the legs up in this angled position and moving them from side to side. That helps to also think of bringing the low back toward the mat as we bring the knees up above the torso. That can be helpful too. And just each time that you start to bring the knees back up to the middle, really think of drawing that navel toward the spine. Let's do this once more on each side. One here, and then one here. And then we'll bring the knees back up to center. Now this time, we do want to have the knees right above the hips for this next move. So you can put the hands either behind the head, interlacing the fingers. This can be a nice position. Or you can bring them down to the hips. I'm going to put mine behind my head. And we're going to tap the right toes down on the mat and then lift the knee back up over the hip. And then do the same. Tap the left toe down and bring the knee back up over the hip. So we're just tapping gently here. And again, you're going to really feel this in the lower abdominals. We want to keep the lower back pretty flush with the mat because that's going to help to turn on the abs and keep the work there and also prevent any tension in that low back, any straining there. And you might also feel some work here in the hip flexors. So the abdominals and the hip flexors are working here. Let's do one more on either side. And then if at some point you want to challenge yourself in this move, you can always lift the chin up toward the ceiling and do your toe taps there. You're just engaging the upper abdominals in addition to the lower when you do this. Oh, you can feel it's more challenging for sure. All right, let's bring the soles of the feet right down to the mat. Oh, you can pretty much feel the relaxation in that midsection as soon as you do that. And then we're going to allow the knees to just fall over to one side, like windshield wipers, and just let them rest there on the side for a moment. Just let them rest there. This is allowing some stretching, lengthening out in that midsection that we've been working and pulling and contracting together. So we're wanting to lengthen it out. It's also providing some length in the hips. Let's draw the knees back to center again, and then we're going to let them fall over to the other side. I may need to rearrange a little bit here. If this is at all uncomfortable on the low back, then I would say do not bend the knees quite as far over toward the floor. Maybe you just lean them toward each other, but you don't come quite as far up onto the outer hip, so you're not creating quite as much of a twist. Let's do this once more on each side and just allow some relaxation to begin here as we're cooling down. Knees back to center. Once more on that last side. Notice how it feels different on one side of the body to drop the legs, knees over to one side versus the other. You usually can tell some difference from one side to the other. Let's bring the knees back up to center now. We're going to come into a bridge pose so that we can really open up. Again, like I said, we've been contracting that center. We're going to bring the knees to face the ceiling again. Soles of the feet are flat on the floor. Heels are about 6 to 12 inches in front of the bum. Make sure knees are right over the ankles as we press into the heels and lift the hips up off the floor. And if you want to here, I'm going to lower back down for just a minute. You can get a block and you can do a supported bridge. I'll show you how that works. We'll lift those hips up again and bring the block to rest right under the tailbone and the sacrum area. And this allows a little bit more relaxation in the pose, a little bit less work on the legs, which is totally fine here as we're ending our practice and starting to reduce our muscular efforts here. Whether you're in supported bridge or unsupported bridge, let's come down. If you are in supported bridge, let's remove that block and then we'll bring the hips slowly down to rest on the mat once again. And for our Shavasana today, so that we can again try to open up and stretch out those muscles in the front body, roll over to one side, grab your pillow or your bolster, put it long ways on your mat, and you want to keep it close to the bum and low back as you lower down slowly onto the back. And allow the head and back to rest on the bolster. If this is not feeling great on the low back, you can move the bum away from the bolster a little bit, and that can help. Extend the legs out in front, or bring the soles of the feet to touch one another in a Supta Baddha Konasana with the knees spread wide, soles of the feet touching. And allow the arms to just rest on the floor at your side. This should feel very nice. Should be opening up the chest, the shoulders, and the abdominals that we've worked a lot here today. Just be here and breathe. If you happen to get chilly and you have a blanket, you can pull that over top. Just allowing yourself to be here and breathe. Let any thoughts pass through without judgment or attachment. I'll let you know when it's time to come back to full awareness.
Take a full inhale as we begin to bring some movement to the fingers and toes. Maybe rocking the hips slightly from side to side. Another full body stretch, pressing through the palms, lengthening those legs out and pressing through the heels. And then we'll roll off the bolster, just coming onto our side for a moment, pushing that bolster off of your mat, coming to rest the head on the arm, lying on your side. Closing the eyes here if they aren't still closed. One full breath cycle here. And then we'll press ourselves up to seated again, coming into our Sukhasana, our easy pose. Keeping the eyes closed as long as you can. Notice how it feels to come into this seated position now versus when we first started our practice. Notice any different sensations in the body. Notice any shifts in our state of mind or the state of our emotions. Draw attention to the spine, lengthening up from tail to crown. Noticing those points in the body where we're grounded securely in this space beneath us. Big full belly inhale and a complete and full exhale. Once more, and we'll chant Om on the final exhale. Om. Drawing the hands together in prayer position at the heart. Let's lift the thumbs up to touch the forehead. May we have peace in our thoughts. Bring the thumbs to touch the lips. May we have peace in our words. And finally, resting thumbs back down at the heart space. May we have peace in our hearts. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you, and I bow as I say, Namaste. Thank you so much for being here to practice with me today. I really hope that this practice has brought some peace and tranquility to you and your day, and that you can carry that with you throughout the remainder of your day as you navigate the outer world. Thanks again for being here and for practicing with me. I can't wait to practice with you again soon. Namaste.